Despite another rough outing from Joe Flacco, don't expect a quarterback change this week. We'll talk about it coming up on the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Dog Pound? I'm Spencer German, your host of the Locked On Browns podcast, and proudly covering your Cleveland Browns each and every single day in the land and on the road. Another rough day for Joe Flacco, including 3 turnovers. But the Browns' problems on offense go beyond the quarterback, and I don't think a change is coming this week. Meanwhile, special teams strike again for the Browns, and another brilliant defensive performance wasted by the Cleveland Browns today here at Ford Field against the Detroit Lions. We'll talk about all that and more, but I do want to thank you for being in every day at the Locked On Browns podcast, making us your first listen every single day. Remember, you can find Cleveland Browns content with Locked On Browns every week, Monday through Friday, guaranteed. And the conversation here post-game from Ford Field, of course, has to start with the quarterback position, because after another bad outing for Joe Flacco, I know we're going to get all the calls to make a quarterback change. I know that it looked rough yet again for him. 16 of 34, 47 completion percentage, 184 yards, 2 interceptions. It was his roughest outing of the season, I think, by far. On top of the 2 interceptions, he also had a strip sack that he fumbled away late in this game that basically, it was already over, but gave the Lions their final sort of cherry on top touchdown to win 34-10. From every angle you dissected, it was a bad day for Joe Flacco. There's no way to sugarcoat it. And there is going to be a quarterback change made for this team at some point. That is coming. It is not on the horizon this week. May not even be there on the horizon next week. And I do want to just remind people again that the problems on offense go beyond the quarterback position. I understand there's plenty of reasons why a quarterback change is maybe needed, why it makes sense, why the Browns should do it. They can't be afraid to pull the trigger on that at some point here. But the problems that this team has on offense, the deficiencies that they have on offense, go beyond Joe Flacco and his miserable performance today. I think today was a day where Joe Flacco looked like he was a 40-year-old quarterback. The guy from 2 years ago who was 38 and slinging it down the field and still looked like he had something in him. He bought himself 2 more years in this league. That's great, but that guy is gone. He is not there this year. And there's reasons for that beyond just him, as I said. But he's certainly at the forefront of it, and we have to highlight the fact that he's not the same quarterback this year. He's not seeing the field as well, in my estimation. And then even when he does, he's not getting the help he needs with guys dropping passes. And that's where I want to sort of go with this next, because team scored 10 points today. Lowest total of the season. They're averaging 14 points on the season in overall per game. I mean, this is as bad as it gets. I mean, this is teetering on even worse than last year. They've now not scored 20 points, or they failed to score 20 points in 8 straight games, dating back to week 13 last year, where Jameis Winston got into that shootout with the Broncos on Monday Night Football. They haven't scored 20 points since that game. It's a disaster all around. And while Flacco is certainly a big part of it, maybe the biggest part of it, because he's the quarterback, it's always going to fall on him. By the way, he took blame for especially the first interception, where him and Cedric Tillman were clearly had a miscommunication. Cedric ran a hitch. He thought he was going deep on the fade. It was clearly a choice route. I said during the game that I thought that was what had kind of happened there, and he read it wrong, or they just weren't on the same page. Flacco said afterwards that he assumed he was going deep, and so he threw it deep, and it was totally on him. He needed to read Tillman better. When I saw it on the replay, it looked like Tillman just wasn't beating the corner far enough where he thought, I'm not going to go deep. It doesn't make any sense. I'm going to just cut it off and do the hitch instead. Flacco didn't know that. He was already eyeing the fade route, threw it up. Kirby Joseph picks it off. And then the second interception, which came in the second quarter, it looked like, I will say, like a lot of hands. There was some contact, but it looked more so like it was. I'm okay with letting the guys play a little bit, and it did look like Judy sort of slipped out from underneath DJ Reed, and he was able to pick off the ball and in a diving attempt. It was again one of those sort of acrobatic type plays to make the interception, similar to what we saw against the Bengals in week 1. And that was the second interception. Flacco didn't have as good of an explanation on that one. Just kind of one of those football plays that kind of happened. But then he gets the strip sack at the end, and he basically gets held responsible for all 3 turnovers today for the Browns, which contributed to 17 Lions points today. Special teams included with the punt return. 24 of the 34 points the Lions scored were scored off of a bad special teams play and turnovers today. That tells the story of the game right there. But listen, as bad as special teams is, and we'll get to that here in the second segment, but as bad as special teams has been, the offense is the biggest thing holding this team back. That's not a secret. Everybody knows it. That starts with Flacco, yes. But the issues go beyond, as I said, just the quarterback position. The offensive line is a turnstile in certain spots. Cornelius Lucas was brutal against Aiden Hutchinson today. He was awesome. Even when there was a couple times where they left Cornelius Lucas at right tackle on an island against Hutchinson, and it didn't go well. And then there was other times where he had a chip, whether it was Harold Fannin or a receiver or David Njoku, and even that didn't go well. There were times where he was getting beat even with a chip in to help him. So it was a rough day for him. KT Levinston, like, he can't be your starting left tackle either. It's both sides. The tackle spots are abysmal right now for the Browns. And I think across the offensive line, it's just not the same group. Like that group from a couple years ago that was one of the best in football is not coming back. This is a problem that can't be fixed this season. It's just about guys getting better, frankly. They have to find a way to play better up front. It's just not coming together right now. It's in the pass game. It's in the run game. Even Joe Bitonio after the game, like, I asked him about having seeing some light at the end of the tunnel with the run game and that being something that they can lean on. But he's like, yeah, but we still got to create the holes. We got to make it easier for Quinshon. He can't do it all himself. And that's just not coming together either. So it's a mess up front. And that leads to a lot of the issues for Flacco, not having time to throw, the strip sack, for example, sometimes the interceptions, if he's rushing to throw, like everything is in football. Everything is so connected. Like everything, everything kind of impacts each other, and the offensive line not, blocking for Flacco is one of the biggest things that's going to be a detriment, or having issues in pass protection, I should say, is going to be one of the biggest detriments to any offense. Like, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. So that's part of it. The drops are another part of it. Like, Jerry Jeudy had a couple more drops today, including one on a 3rd down and 7 in the fourth quarter. The game was almost pretty much out of reach at that point anyway. It was 27-10. But a key 3rd down where he drops the ball. We've seen that throughout the season for him, trying to sort of replicate what he did a year ago. I predicted, I thought he'd put up similar numbers to last year, or if not better, and it just hasn't been there. Harold Fannin with a big drop on the play right before that. Jerry Jeudy drop on 2nd down and 7. And Fannin, like, he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. It happens. So, it's not the end of the world there, but he'll grow and learn from it. Jeudy is inexcusable because, he can't – this team is counting on him as the top receiver to make plays, and he can't be dropping the ball. And even he knew that after the game, because he had a very profanity-laced tirade about how he knows he needed to catch that ball. It's just they shoot themselves in the foot everywhere. The issues are nonstop. It's across the entire offense. Flacco's a problem, but I don't know that making a quarterback change fixes all the problems on offense. That's not to say, again, they shouldn't do it. It's inevitable. It's going to happen at some point here in the near future, but it's not going to fix the issues, because a lot of these issues are going to be extended through 17 games and then into the offseason that they're going to have to fix. They're going to be at the top of the priority list of things to fix. Quarterback may be chief among them. We'll come to find out by the end of the season if they think they have anything in either of these rookies. But yeah, another disastrous performance in offense, maybe the worst performance in offense this season. You only scored 10 points, and you're not going to win a lot of games if you're making those mistakes, if you're not scoring points, if you can't get out of your own way. All those things persisted today, and it's why the Browns find themselves at 1-3 with a trip to London coming down the pike. And that's the other part of the quarterback conversation. If you think the Browns are going to start a rookie as they get ready to jump on an airplane in 3 days and fly across the pond to London, different time zone, all the challenges that come with that, then you're crazy. They're not going to do that. No quarterback change this week, I would anticipate. Kevin Stefanski said he's not focused on that after the game. Joe Flacco did admit, like, he knows he's got to play better. He knows he stepped into a situation where it was an open competition, and at any moment, everyone's being evaluated. He could be, they could pull the plug on him. He gets it. But I don't think it's coming this week. I still don't think it's coming for Pittsburgh week. week 7 seems like the sweet spot, depending on what your record is. But this trip to London looms large, and it's going to be Flacco starting under center when they touch down in London. So I mentioned it. We got to get back to the special teams again. I feel like I'm regurgitating the same topics every week with this team, but it's because the same problems persist. We'll talk about Bubba Ventrone and his special teams units coming up on the Locked On Browns podcast. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, easy, and honestly, one of my favorite ways to follow football throughout the season. I love checking projections like Josh Allen, more than 270 yards passing, or Saquon Barkley, more or less than 1 rushing touchdown. You can create your lineup in under a minute, and they've added a new injury reboot feature. If your player leaves early and doesn't return to the game, it won't count against you. Download the PrizePicks app now and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Today's episode is also brought to you by Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, maybe even tried them yourself. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. If you're looking for something that's going to help you in the most intimate moments of your life, this is the route for you. That's exactly where Rugiet Go Long comes in. This isn't another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. The process is simple. They connect you with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. It's prescribed. If prescribed, your treatment will get to your door, and you'll be able to take advantage as soon as possible. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rugiet, RUGIET.com, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first order. Make sure you use the code so they know we sent you. So while the problems on offense continue to cost the Browns in a win, or in a loss, the problems on special teams also continue to cost the Browns a win. And frankly, it felt like they had them resolved. Last week was awesome. Andre Schmidt had kind of come out of the issues from the Cincy game where he missed the game-winning kick, and he'd been perfect ever since. He hits the 55-yarder to win the game against Green Bay last week, and that had everybody excited, thought he was getting back on track. And then obviously he comes out today, hits a 35-yarder, but misses a 56-yarder. That was after a Denzel Ward interception that sort of set it up, and it ends up being – it would have been insignificant in the grand scheme of the score anyway, but it was still another scoring opportunity. And then after the Lions give the ball back to the Browns and then they punt to the Lions, they return a punt for a touchdown, for a special teams touchdown. And all of a sudden, within like 3 series, you have a 10-point swing that goes against the Browns because you miss a field goal and then you have a punt return for a touchdown. And I said it last segment, but 24 of the Lions' points, 34 points in this game, came off of special teams, bad coverage on a punt, and turnovers. Like, these are the little things that are the difference between a good team and a bad team. That played itself out on the field today. The Lions were held in check for much of this game offensively. Again, we'll talk about the defense here coming up, putting together another brilliant performance for most of this game. But it was the little. It was the little things that good teams do to be able to look beyond like the struggles they were having on offense and find a way to win. Special teams plays, turnovers leading to easy touchdowns for their offense. Like, those are the things good teams do. And so you saw flat out on the field today the difference between a really good team in this league that has Super Bowl aspirations and one of the worst teams in this league in the Browns, who do everything wrong in every phase except on the defensive side of the ball, it seems. I mean, it's remarkable, really. I I feel like a broken record at this point when we talk special teams because it's the same issues every week. Missed kicks, can't have them. You want to forgive Andre Schmidt, given his story and how he redeemed himself last week. And I don't think it has to be the end of the world that he missed a 56-yarder today. 56 is pretty long. But still, it's like the Browns are still looking for that kicker that can consistently hit from 50-plus range and give them what they need in games to maybe build your team some momentum and cash in on scoring drives, per potential scoring drives. And then it's the issues on returns. Like they can't – every other team in this league finds guys that can return at least, set your offense up in good field position. The Browns can never find these guys. And so that's all where it falls on Bubba Ventrone's lap. Like, he's the evaluator. He's the one who finds the guys that they think is the guy that's going to be the right returner for them. He's the one that finds different players to play different roles on special teams coverage packages where you're trying to get downfield and make a play and get a stop or, block for somebody so that you can spring them for a big gain. And it's not coming together. I've talked about it before with Bubba when he came over here, especially on the heels of Mike Prefer and how bad his units were. I thought it was a good hire for the Browns. It felt like a step in the right direction towards correcting a lot of the special team issues. And it wasn't. It was yet again. They've just continued to be problematic in general. There's been issues the last couple of years. Year one, I think, was a step in the right direction when he was here. But the last 3 years that he's been here, it's been a slow regression to a point now where the Browns have probably one of the worst special teams units in football with the miscues they've had these first 4 weeks. And it stinks because last week was brilliant in special teams. You get a blocked field goal that helps you win the game. You make all your kicks. Like, everything was great. Felt like they had turned that corner. And then you come back a week later and it's a special teams play that ultimately cost you really flips momentum. And that was the moment where the game kind of became out of reach and it was like, all right, now it's over. It was 20-10 at that point. You were still sort of in it with about 7 minutes or so to go in the quarter. You felt, or actually it was even earlier than that. It was like 13 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And you felt like there was still a chance, like some of the last week, like, hey, you're hanging in there. Maybe you need a couple drives to sort of cash in and then you can tie this game up. And the special teams cost you. Again, difference between a good team and a bad team. It played itself out in the field today. I don't think the Browns would get rid of anybody midseason. I've talked about this before. I think this is kind of like we're committed till the end and then we'll make changes. I also think like last year, Ken Dorsey was as bad as it gets in terms of an offensive coordinator, and they waited till the end of the season to move on from him. It was pretty prompt after that they moved on, but that's what they did. I think the same thing applies here. I don't think they would make any changes like that to the coaching staff midseason. But I do think that on the heels of what seemed like he got his units back together and on track, I think Bubba Ventrone remains squarely on his own little hot seat here. And this is, by the way, on a staff that I think is mostly safe. I've said it a million times. I think Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are probably back next year, unless this season really spirals out of control. I think they're probably back next year with a chance to kind of fix the quarterback situation and see if they can turn this roster around pretty quickly. This class that Andrew Berry drafted this year seems to be a step in the right direction, no doubt. But it doesn't mean no changes are coming. And I think Bubba Ventrone is at the top of that list because the special teams issues costing this team weekly, I mean, that's stuff that just can't happen, frankly. So something needs to give there. And again, it's another issue like the offensive line that isn't going to get resolved probably during the season. It's like a off-season thing where you got to find maybe a new coach and also the right parts and pieces to sort of fit into those units to make sure that you're doing a better job executing on them. But those are the little things that cost you games. Those are the little things that good teams do well. And I think we can all agree this Browns team is not very good when it's those things, it's turnovers, it's other issues, the self-inflicted stuff that's costing them games and in a big way. We'll end on a high. We'll talk about the side of the ball that continues to dominate. This Browns defense is legit. We know it. It's just unfortunate that every single week we find ourselves realizing that it's going to waste. We'll talk about it coming up on the Locked On Browns podcast. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shot delivers tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with zero sugar and zero crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get the boost whenever you need it. Everyone knows it's pumpkin spice season. People are walking around with their pumpkin spice lattes. It's football season, as we know. We're sitting right here in Ford Field. Fall is in the air. Well, now you can walk around with a brand new pumpkin spice flavored 5-hour energy shot, part of 3 new holiday themed flavors. Enough of the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in-store and online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Our episode today is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. We know the football season is here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready every single week with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That's $300. There's nothing better than following the NFL season with FanDuel, and the best part is, honestly, they have options for however you like to bet. Maybe you're a parlay or maybe you're a prop bet person and you want to bet on a player eclipsing a certain milestone in a game, or maybe you want to combine that player's benchmark with a few others, maybe even a money line, and build a same game parlay. Or you can just jump on the money line in real time as the action unfolds. The options are endless, and it makes every game, whether your team is playing or not, even more exciting. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, so on the bright side of things, the Browns defense continues to be legit. I was texting with Matt Derry of Locked On Lions during the game, actually, who, if you follow this channel, you might have seen our crossover episode this week, getting you ready for the game. And that was a fun time, but he texted me, it was about halftime, and he said, this Browns defense is legit. I mean, they were shutting down a Lions offense that I waxed poetic about how great they were, the amount of points they were scoring in games, what they did to the Ravens last week, which was just pure domination. You don't see the Ravens usually get dominated like that. Granted, I know last I know they were getting dominated today as well. 37-20 was the final. So they did get beat pretty badly again today. But that just rarely happens, especially the Ravens at home. But it did happen. And the Browns were, for the most part in this game, shutting things down for the Detroit Lions. They were forcing they did force one turnover, but they were constantly making sure like Detroit would move the ball a little bit, but they were getting them off the field. They went 3 and out 3 times today. There was a drive where after the missed field goal by Andre Schmidt, the Lions got all the way down to Cleveland's 24-yard line, and they turned it over on downs. They couldn't convert on downs, and the Browns got off the field. And that was at that point in the game. You were sort of that led into the Browns then punting to Detroit and then taking it back for the touchdown that very next series. But it was another example of them keeping the Browns in the game late in the fourth quarter, 2010, still in it, still in the mix, still have a shot. And it all went up in smoke, obviously, as the game continued because of the punt return and then the strip sack that set up another touchdown. But that stat I keep bringing up, the 24 points off of turnovers and miscues on special teams, like those are the things that break the back of this defense continually this season and most of the losses that they've had. It's the miscues. Like you take those, the defense essentially gave up like one long drive early in the game on the Lions' second possession, because they forced a punt on the first possession. Then the Browns offense went down, scored, actually had a lead. It was just the second time in a game that the Browns were playing with a lead in regulation. Again, keyword in regulation, because I know they won last week, but that was as time expired. Second time they played with a lead this season in regulation. And then Detroit turned around, marched down the field, 5 plays, 46 yards, and they scored a touchdown to equalize the Browns. And that was essentially and then they kicked a field goal after that, after the interception. But like most of these points came off the mistakes, and the defense continued to just kind of keep Detroit in the middle of the field or get them off the field and force them into mistakes. I mean, they held this offense relatively in check. For all the talk from John Morton, Lions OC, about, well, they haven't seen a run game like ours. Now, he did have a point to a degree, because Jahmyr Gibbs was great. 15 carries, 91 yards, 6.1 yards per carry. He broke off a 24-yarder, had a touchdown today. He had more as an individual player, he had more yards with 91 than any other team this season has had against the Browns as a team. So that speaks for itself. Gibbs was great. Montgomery, though, held to 9 attempts for 12 yards. They gave up 109 yards in total on the ground, but Jared Goff was not very efficient. 59 completion percentage, 16 to 27, 2 touchdowns, but he threw the interception. I mean, they were keeping things tight with Goff all day. The coverage was great downfield. Didn't have a lot of, lapses, I think, on that. There were some chunk plays that they gave up, but they always found a way to slam the door. They're really good, especially when their backs are against the wall. If they've kind of been the team, I mean, frankly, even when the offense gives them a short field, they've generally done a pretty good job of trying to sort of hold and get off the field and still get the ball back to their offense. It's just their offense can do nothing. It is 2024 all over again, and there's no end in sight. And what's frustrating, I think, for you as a fan, for me covering this team, is like I'm sitting there watching the brilliance of this defense on this field behind me. I'm getting texts from people who are like, the Browns defense is really good, man. Look what they're doing to the Lions right now. And, we all like when the Browns offense is on the field, we're all glowing. We're like, oh, this is fun football. This is good to watch. Myles Garrett's there. Guys are getting pressure. They're stopping the run. They're doing everything. They're breaking up passes. The coverage is tight. It's everything you want in an elite defense. And then like the offense takes the field, and there's just this sobering reality that comes over you where you realize every week this elite, maybe set up to be historic down, depending on how the rest of the season goes, defense is going to waste week in and week out because the rest of the team is not carrying their weight at all. I mean, it took the defense last week basically gifting the Browns offense a touchdown. And then, the blocked field goal and all that. It took such a Herculean effort from the defense to even put the Browns in position to win that game last week. And if your strategy week after week is we need our defense to play perfect, we need our special teams not to make any mistakes, we need our punter to be great and basically pin the team back all the time and trust our defense to get stops because they have to drive 80, 90 yards and they're not going to be able to do it. By the way, Corey Bojorquez had a rougher day today, not some of his best punts. And like if that's your strategy, perfect punts and perfect defense, you're not going to win a lot of games that way, and that's bared itself out so far on the Browns' schedule. It doesn't get any easier. They're going to London. This defense seems to travel well, so I'm sure we'll get another great defensive performance from them. But what happens on the offensive end is the big kicker. And to this point, we have no results to make us feel confident that they're going to support this defense or lift them up. It's unfortunate because, like, I mean, I don't want to even bring up the SB phrase Super Bowl, but this defense is Super Bowl good. This defense would be the type of defense that you could hang your hat on winning a Super Bowl with. And the offense is, I mean, the offense is back to the Stone Age. Like, this offense is awful. And it's one of the worst offenses I've ever seen. It's a miserable experience for all who watch it. I'm sure at home you want to poke your eyes out with a fork. It just stinks because the like with this defense, the Browns should be better than they are, but they can't even get average offense. And admittedly, I was wrong. Because I thought that the offense would be competent enough, more competent than last year, to support them a little bit more, and it's actually been worse. So can't say enough about the defensive effort. They continue to just, shine. The rookies on that side of the ball continue to shine. Carson Schlesinger was great again today. He had 8 tackles. He was flying around. I know Mason Graham had a couple really nice stops up near the line of scrimmage. He was great in run stopping today. In turn, like, he had a tackle for a loss, but he was constantly kind of getting in there and making things difficult. Miles was Miles. He didn't get a sack today, but he did have a tackle for a loss and a couple QB hits. So his presence continues to be felt, but there's just no answers. There's no answers. It's another week where the storylines write themselves, right? Offense struggles. Special teams stink again. Defense dominates. And it feels like that's going to be the common theme week in and week out for this Browns team that we'll be talking about. So I hope we're having a different conversation next week after the game in London. But we'll see how it goes. I'll have another reaction show for you, by the way, on Monday. We'll have some more nitty-gritty stuff to talk about, in terms of this game and some other things that I sort of, picked up on or whatever. So sort of a second reaction show for Monday, obviously. But in the meantime, it's another episode Down With You, Dog Pound. I appreciate you joining me as always. And if you like what you heard, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make Locked On Browns your first listen every day, wherever you get your podcasts. and at the Locked On Browns YouTube channel, where I know some of you are watching this right now. For your second listen, get a double dose of Locked On NFL. Tyler, the Madman Roland, gives you the shot of espresso you need to start your football day. Tony Wiggins rounds it out with the barbershop with some of the smoothest breakdowns. You can find those as well wherever you get your podcasts and at the Locked On NFL YouTube channel. For those that also are inclined, keep it local. Check out Locked On Cavs. Season's just around the corner. The Locked On Guardians. They just clinched the AL Central today. It's been real. I appreciate you hanging out. Thanks for making the Locked On Network. Thanks for being in every day at the Locked On Podcast Network. I will talk to you again real soon, Cleveland. See ya.